Peace to everybody out there in the internet universe. I am the one and only Shakori Shine, and thank you for tuning back into my channel. All right. So this is going to be a message for all of my people who are dating out there. Specifically, if you are a February, it's February Aquarius, not January. If you're dealing with someone, if you or the person you're dealing with is a February Aquarius, Pisces, all the whole season of Pisces, or even a Leo starting in August, not July Leo starting in August, all the way through Virgo. Okay, so you or your person's sun sign could be Aquarius, only February Aquarius, Pisces, starting at Leo's in August, starting there all the way through Virgo, right? So that's just an indicator. Not saying you have to have that sun sign or the person that you're dating has to have that sun sign, but that's how you will have a greater indicator that this message is for you. All right. So I'm gonna hop right into the message, and we're gonna see where you're starting. Okay, so where you're in this story, where you're starting as the conservationist herself. You see the dark goddess, and so in the beginning of this story, once upon a time, right, there lived a sovereign who was. It's like you're interested in, like, one day being in a long-term marriage, like you're dating someone, right, but you're like holding back. Okay, so you're a sovereign who's like holding back your romance, your intimacy, your love. You're like, I like this person, but I'm not sure if I'm like in love with this person. You might be a person like, I don't think I'll ever like fall in love, right? You might not be into that kind of philosophy, but you're definitely like not all in with whomever you're dating right now. That's definitely what I'm picking up. You are holding back some of your heart, some of your love. You know, you might be being a little bit like, say you guys have, gone all the way before. You might not be like so into doing that regularly all the time with the same person, right? You're like where I'm seeing it right now is that you're kind of shying away, kind of moving away from this particular connection that's on your mind as you're thinking about. Just a little FYI about that. I just see you kind of being a little bit conservative when it comes to entering a romantic partnership right now. That's basically, at the end of the day, that's what I'm seeing. And as we move forward, I'm seeing it's because you're kind of like not willing right now. You have this kind of like, this soldier energy as we move forward in the story. And what I'm seeing is, yes, you're kind of being conservative and being a little bit slow about entering into a committed relationship right now, because you're not absolutely ready to sacrifice the things that you sacrifice when you get into a committed relationship with people, especially nowadays, right? People want to lock you down. People want to put you in prison. People, there's expectations that you have to live up to and all that type of stuff. And you're just kind of like, you like being in your flow. You like your freedom. And that's kind of really basically what they're saying. You're not really ready to sacrifice your freedom, right? You're not ready to answer to someone, or if your friends want to go on a trip, you just kind of want to go on a trip. You don't want to have a conversation with someone, right? And that's so interesting. You could have met this person, going back to the conservationist, right? You could have met this person. You guys like probably hooked up in the beginning. You could have hooked up in the beginning, that kind of vibe. And I see that, like, it's just like you're into it, but you're not. You're just still moving slow about fully going all the way in. And I see it because you're unwilling to. You're unwilling to. What do I? How do I? You're unwilling to sacrifice some of the freedom and spontaneity that we all tend to have as single people, right? And this, we're gonna move forward again, right? We're coming into this monk energy, and in the placement that he's in as part of the story, it's like if you wanted this connection to end, you're definitely gonna need some like kind of coaching support or someone to kind of guide you, right? Especially in terms of your like emotions. You probably have felt like a lot of different emotions in connection with this person, because it's kind of like, I like this person. And again, you might even feel with negotiator right here in this position, you might even feel like close, like we're close friends, we're connected, or even in a sense it's like, yeah, I feel like you're part of my inner circle, but that romance, that kind of romantic connection isn't there, right? Some of you guys may not even be in communication with someone right now. Like, you may not be having the type of communication that you like to have as far as like relationships go. You know what I mean? Like, you might not be in communication with your partner. And if that's not it, it's just, you're basically like, you feel like this person is a close friend, right? Like you're pretty close to them, but it's so interesting. So, like, I'm gonna go back to this monk, right? This monk is like emotionally just confused, emotionally like kind of wishy-washy, kind of all over the place as far as like, I love them, I love them not. I love them, I love them not. It's not they love me, it's do I love them or love them not? Right? Like, that's the kind of energy you're in. Okay? Um that I love them not energy. And then again, here we go. What's happening like internally within this connection? You might feel like you guys are close, like you have a close connection with them, a close tie with them, but right now you're needing to kind of like keep your communication to yourself, or maybe they're keeping their communication to themselves. You know what I mean? Even though you guys feel close. As far as like, again, this romantic connection and romantic energy, because whomever you're dating really wants to be like married, committed, all in. But the way I see you showing up, not only are you may be keeping your communication to yourself, which is a block and a hindrance to the dating. You know what I mean? Excuse me. But you're like conservationist again. You're moving very slow. You're moving very slow in terms of like getting to marriage, getting to all in commitment with someone. You're moving pretty slow in terms of that. You know what I mean? Like, I see you kind of shying away from the connection. Again, you don't want to give up your freedoms. You don't want to give up your spontaneity, your adventurous side. I get that. Sometimes relationships can be prison ships. So I understand that's something that a friend would say. Say people like to get in prison ships where you get with somebody, you gotta tell them what you're doing, tell them where you're going, ask them for permission, do this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like check in, all of that kind of stuff. And I see you being like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Right? You're like, I don't know if I really want to do that. You may, like, again, you might have met this person. You guys probably had an intense encounter in the beginning of your connection. Could be one of those first night kind of things. And it just kind of kept going, right? But I see you, all of that kept going. This is like you had kind of put a stop to the just going with the flow energy, right? You kind of put a stop to that, right? You was like, okay, I have been going with the flow, but if I'm being honest with myself, I don't really want to give up these freedoms. I don't want to give up my liberties in order to be committed to someone. Even though I feel like I'm close to this person, I feel like this person is a close friend, right? But I don't know if I want to be like all in with them, or maybe just with anybody right now, because what I'm seeing, what's your heart desire right now? You want adventure, visionary, especially in this third house. You want adventure. You want variety in partners. You want variety in people, in experiences, if you know what I mean. That's just kind of like where you are, and there's no judgment, right? Um, I see like more travel, adventure, meeting new people. being able to get up and go when you please, not having to like check in with people. We all know that. Like we all know that, right? And I think that that's why you've been kind of like shying away from the connection that you have kind of developed with this person, right? Is because you're really just not ready to go all in with someone. And I'm just seeing it right here, even on the mental level, right? When we're talking about your mind, devotee, she is your mind, right? And in this suit, she lacks the ability to mentally commit to anyone. That's why you're that again. And look, the cards are speaking to each other, right? Your feminine energy, your feminine side is not ready to commit. And usually people think that, oh, and if you're using your feminine energy, that you're ready to be inside of a relationship and all of that. No, not necessarily just in a one-on-one. Feminine energy connects us, right? Feminine energy connects all of us. And just because you're operating your feminine doesn't mean that you're going to want to be with just one person, right? You might have a more polyamorous nature, right? Which is how this is what I'm picking on right here, right? This is like someone who is more freedom-based relationship, open relationship. You know what I mean? Like you don't really want to adhere to rules and guides and all that kind of stuff. You want variety. You want to be connected to plenty of different types of people, right? Because quiet as kept, that's how we grow in our intelligence. That's how we grow in our creativity and our ability to create solutions and innovate, is through the variety of humans that we connect with. All right. And again, like I said, um, conservation's in the fourth house right here, especially how she's placed uh, in this suit. Is like, she's moving slow as far as like long-term commitment. Once you, but the cool thing about that position is it's like once you commit, you have committed. You know what I mean? But you're moving very, very slow, as because you don't want to give up your personal autonomy and freedom. And I see that you're just having a hard time mentally committing to this person, whoever you're dating with. You're just having a hard time seeing the future with this person, unfortunately. Again, like I said, you feel close to them. You feel like a close friend more than anything, and I think that you might value that, but that's not equating to marriage. That's not equating to long-term committed relationship, partnership, all of that kind of stuff. Especially because, as part of your personal self-expression is, you kind of want variety and experiences through adventure, through travel, freedom, and people, right? Again, conservationist, look, she comes up again in a different suit. I don't know. I do think that whomever you dating, that you may not allow this connection to go into a committed relationship. You might not allow this to go into marriage, marriage or partnership. And we can talk about legal marriage or spiritual, or you know what I mean. I like, it's just a lot for you right now. I think, you know what I mean. I think it's a lot for you, and I what I'm gonna say is, I think that part of the reason, what I'm seeing here, part of the reason why you're not so readily um, able to commit to this person that you're dating, right, is not just because you don't want to give up your freedom. I think that's a big part of it, because freedom has come up a lot in this reading. Personal freedom, personal autonomy, being able to, if you want to go somewhere at 2 a.m., you can get up and go somewhere. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Having that personal freedom, that you don't have to consider someone else when you're in a relationship with them. I think that's big for you. But also, I just don't think that you've met someone who shares the same philosophy on life or dating as you. I think you feel really close to this person, right? Whomever you're dating. And that may be part of the reason why you have like you're into this reading, or you're still entertaining them or talking to them, because you do feel close to them. You do feel close to them, but like a close friend, right? You do feel close to them. But all of that, you having to give up your personal autonomy and freedom is really that's keeping you, that's like has your mind warped. It's like, I don't know if I could really go into that like that. You know what I mean? And from what I'm seeing is, I don't see you I don't see you allowing it to go too much further, too much longer, right? Because ultimately, lover in the seventh house. Lover in the seventh house is being with someone who is really pretty much on the same page as you, right? And I think that maybe whomever you've been dating, you guys might have different morals, philosophies, or belief systems when it comes to maybe even a number of different things that keep you from being inside of like a marriage type partnership with this person. You know what I mean? This person might be a good friend, all right, but a good friend is not the same thing as your husband or wife or your partner, right? Like, that's not the same thing. And you kind of look for more shared value systems and philosophies. Same, like, it could be even just as simple as like, you could be a Christian and have a friend, like a really close friend that's a Muslim, right? And you guys get along well, you guys understand each other, you guys connect super well, but you would prefer to marry someone who is also a Christian, right? Because then you go into raising children and shit, doing this kind of stuff, that kind of stuff. And of course, there's a lot of interfaith marriages. I'm just giving that as an example, that how you can have a friend that is, could be complete opposite of you, and you guys learn through that exchange from each other. But when it comes to your household, who's in your house, who you wake up next to, it's going to take someone who shares the same philosophy as you, right? And part of your philosophy, if you're watching this, my dear sovereign, I think this message is for you, is that you have a philosophy of freedom. You have a value of freedom. Look, all of these cards are in the house of freedom. Three cards: freedom, spontaneity. Okay, and I just really think that, and from what I'm seeing, you're having a hard time committing to this person because you're just. I don't think that you guys share the same values. And that's the biggest thing. I don't think that you share the same values. I think that you really value your personal freedom. And I think that from this reading, you may be someone who is more inclined towards more like open relating or polyamory. And perhaps the person you're dating at this time is more of a monogamous person. And that's probably why, like, if you were to make this work, you would need some coaching and some support in helping you work out your emotions and how to align these different things, how to align your different value system, right? But I think that what I'm seeing is, I don't see you in particular allowing this connection to go too much further, because I think you're stepping into your power, knowing who you are, knowing that you can attract exactly what it is that you want, which is someone who shares the same vision, the same philosophy, the same value system as you. And even when it comes to the monogamy and polyamory thing, I know that the monogamous mindset is more prevalent within our society, and sometimes it's hard for people to like align. Like, a polyamorous person to get with a polyamorous person would be ideal. A monogamous person to get with a monogamous person would be ideal. Even in terms of like traditional versus more progressive relationships. Obviously, it would be ideal for two people who believe in the traditional relationship system, especially if they're like a man and a woman, right? Like, to get into the traditional where the person who's the man, or just the masculine, right, is a provider, and the feminine is, stays at home, and that type of stuff. But sometimes we get, we get into these relationships and we kind of have different value systems. One person has a more traditional mindset on relationships. The other person has a more progressive mindset. And sometimes that can bring confusion. You have to do a little bit more work to bring the connection like into harmony, right? For you, I don't see that you are actually willing or even mentally able to commit to someone who is just not on the same page as you from the jump, right? Like, I think what I'm seeing is you need someone who, if you are someone who is more of a relationship traditionalist, you need someone from the beginning who is a relationship traditionalist, period. If you're someone who's more progressive in your relationships and you like polyamory and openness and, different types of things, you would be more suited to be with someone who has that same mindset as you and who shares the similar values and philosophy. You know, I think you would find more pleasure in a relationship like that. You would find more harmony, and I think it would be easy for you to be close with someone who you could connect with on that mental level first, where we feel like we have a shared sense of faith, a shared sense of purpose, and connection together, right? So, my advice to you is to trust yourself first and foremost. I know you're moving slow with this connection. Continue to move slow with the connection. Don't rush into anything. I think we always make a mistake when we rush, right? We always make a mistake when, even if we're getting ready for work in the morning and we're having to rush, damn it, I left something, right? I left my keys, I left my phone. I was supposed to pack up that, my lunch, and I forgot to do that. So don't rush. I think by moving slow, you're trusting yourself. You're respecting yourself. You're respecting time, which is a big thing. A lot of us do not respect the time it takes to grow something, to know someone. And I see you respecting that. And I think you've been taking your time enough. And I think that you know yourself well enough. You know that you are interested in a certain level of freedom that this person may not. And I do see that you feel close to this person. You feel actually very close. You may consider this person a part of your inner circle. But just because you're good friends, it does not mean that you may be good partners, right? Because for you, a good partner is going to share the same philosophy, same values, same beliefs about relationships, love, family, community, and all of those things. Okay? So that's my biggest advice. If you need some help working this out, some support, my links will be down below. If you can't get in touch with me, just comment, leave me a message, and comment in down below in my comments and let me know if this reading resonated with you. I love getting the feedback in the comments. I love hearing from people, and that's what keeps me motivated. If it's not just money, it's also the impact, right, that I'm able to execute and impact people and to help as many people as possible. All right. But let me know if this reading is for you. I have my one-on-one coaching available. If you guys would, if you need a little advice or some counsel or, just to help you make the best decisions for yourself. Again, I do readings for sovereign beings, the kings and queens of their reality. If you're looking for someone who's going to help you stay in the victim mindset and help you stay powerless and, stay in wishful thinking for someone else to come back into your life instead of making the choices and decisions for yourself, you can go find another reader. I'm not that person. I am Shakori Shine. I am the best love relationship oracle online right now. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you for tuning in, and check me out next time. All right, peace.